There is tension between the U.S. and Russia and between the U.S. and China. And of course, China and Russia appear to be teaming up together in an effort to combat American strength around the world. The Middle East remains uncertain as Iran continues to pursue a nuclear weapon, which is something Israel says it will not allow. Afghanistan dominated the news over the summer with a feckless withdrawal, the killing of American service members in a terrorist attack, and a drone attack that killed innocent Afghan children. Just because we don't hear much about Afghanistan doesn't mean things are getting better. If you're a woman or a religious minority, Afghanistan remains a dangerous place. And what about ISIS or ISIS-K? And surely there are other regions of the world which do not garner daily attention but still provide challenges for the U.S. Places like Central America and Africa, and especially Ethiopia, where people are starving to death. As we prepare for the new year, let's see where those challenges and conflicts will be and what it means for you and for us as a country. Joining me now is retired four-star general and Fox News senior strategic analyst, General Jack Keane. General, Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us. Tell us what we should be watching as it relates to Russia in the new year.
Well, Happy New Year to you and also to our great audience. Well, certainly China and Russia are our big threats, to be sure, and Russia's aggression is likely going to continue. Russia's strategic objective here, so our audience understands this, is they want to return as much of the former Soviet Union, eastern states, to their sphere of influence as they can. Now, many of those states are already in NATO, but they do undermine those states, particularly Poland, Hungary, and also the Baltics. But those states that are not aligned with NATO, they will continue to put influence on them and actually use aggression as necessary. You see that in 2008 in Georgia, we've seen it with Belarus, and we've seen it very dramatically, certainly, in 2021 with Ukraine. That is going to continue. Putin sees that as an opportunity. I absolutely am convinced that the reason why he moved those 110,000 troops into Ukraine in the fall of 2021, after he had moved about 90,000 in the spring, was because of one singular event. And that was what you've already mentioned. The debacle that took place in Afghanistan, in my mind, he saw as weakness on the part of the United States, weakness in judgment, not just in execution, in judgment in terms of a policy failure, and he saw it as opportunity. And that is why he did that. He's going to continue this level of aggression. I also believe that his cyber activity will likely pick up. He uses criminal activity, certainly authorized and sponsored by the Russian government to do that, to include his own cyber activity that the government uses. That will likely continue and maybe even step up a little bit and be more aggressive. So, yeah, Russia will continue there. Now, you mentioned something that we're watching very closely in foreign policy and national security, and that is the relationship of China and Russia getting closer together. And while they have historical differences for years, what they are about is undermining the United States global leadership with like-minded democracies to maintain the international order that's been in place since post-World War II. They want to create their own sphere of influences, and they've come together because they recognize they have a common objective in the sense that they want to undermine the United States and these democracies. And I think there'll be more activity with them indicating not just their political coming together, but their military exercises will likely get stepped up. And of course, a concern the Pentagon has, I was over in the Pentagon yesterday, and they are certainly concerned that we could have actually a conflict activity, Trey, in the Indo-Pacific region, maybe over the South China Sea, possibly over Taiwan, and Russia would see that as huge opportunity because that would involve just about all of the military, U.S. military, to deal with that because we're outgunned there, and possibly they would move into the Baltics and break NATO, force its collapse, because it doesn't have the wherewithal to respond to it, given the fact the United States is tied up. Now, that's a worst-case scenario. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's on the horizon, and it's giving us some concern, something we need to pay attention to.
General, let me ask you about another area of concern. Iran, we don't hear about it as much, but it seems like they are still heck-bent on a nuclear weapon, and Israel's not going to allow that to happen. What can we expect in the Middle East?
Yeah, well, this is the area that really does give me concern. It was the one that I was forecasting would be a problem for us before the Biden administration had taken over after the election, and I think it's coming to fruition. Iran is hell-bent on getting that nuclear weapon. There's no doubt about that. They're going to be in pursuit of it. They're also going to step up their aggression to get the United States out of the Middle East. They're out of their eastern border in Afghanistan. They certainly welcome that. They're thrilled about that. And they want us out of Iraq, and they want us out of Syria. They'll put more pressure to do that. After all, they tried to kill the Iraqi prime minister, and they tried to kill a couple of hundred U.S. soldiers that were at a southern Syrian base, and we moved those soldiers out of there before the attack. They'll step up that. But the real issue is the pursuit of the nuclear weapon. That may force Israel's hand if it gets close, and certainly Israel will come to us to help them. And how much help we'll render them will certainly be the president's decision. But this is a dangerous situation with Iran potentially acquiring a nuclear weapon and conflict taking place in the Middle East as a result of it.
Well, General, it certainly sounds like 2022 is fraught with potential peril. Thank you for your service to our country in every way that it has manifested itself, and we hope you and your family have a great beginning to 2022. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thank you very much. Same to you and the audience.